Hi, I'm Lucia Watson, a chef and restaurateur, and my friends at the Nature Conservancy asked if I would give a few cooking tips. So I thought what I'd do tonight is talk a little bit about cooking mushrooms, because I'm so excited this time of year to go out foraging for my favorite mushroom, which is a morel. So they say when the lilacs are as big as a mouse's ear, that's when you can go out to the woods and find morels. And they're absolutely delicious. Of course, right now, when these times are so crazy, we want to be out in the woods more than anything. And the rare occasions we get out there is wonderful. So I hope soon you'll be able to go forage for morels. What I have tonight, though, instead of morels, I have this beautiful lion's head mushroom. Now, these do grow wild here in Minnesota, and they're foraged in the fall. This beauty is actually a cultivated mushroom. All wild mushrooms need to be thoroughly cooked, and that goes for this lion's mane as well as any morels that you find. And remember, if you do forage for wild mushrooms, make sure you know what you're doing, because some of them can look alike. So I have everything I need, and I'm going to just show you a basic technique that I use for cooking mushrooms. Then I'm going to tell you what to do with them to turn them into a whole bunch of different dishes. What I have here is I have my beautiful lion's mane, and I have three kinds of other cultivated mushrooms. I have just your classic button mushroom, I have cremini mushrooms, and I have shiitake mushrooms. In addition, the other ingredients I need for what I'm going to prepare are shallots, some fresh thyme, some yummy butter, and some dry sherry. And that's really all you need to make fabulous mushrooms. So I'm going to wash all these mushrooms thoroughly, and then I'm going to chop them. So look at this beautiful lion's mane mushroom that I'm chopping up. And these have an incredible aroma to them. They're so gorgeous. And these mushrooms in particular have amazing medicinal qualities. They cure, you can look it up online, they cure everything from Alzheimer's to arthritis. And what I love about these too is that they have this gorgeous smell, and they taste a lot like crab meat. In fact, sometimes I've heard of people using them to make sort of a fake crab cake. So be sure and try them sometime. Meanwhile, I'm just chopping up my shallots and all my mushrooms. But look at this. You could take this, kind of like a puffball, and you could bread it and saute it and have a beautiful sort of vegetarian entree that would be delicious. Now I'm chopping up some of the shiitakes, creminis, and button mushrooms. And don't worry about what size, just chop them as uniformly as you can. All right, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a big chunk of butter, and don't be shy. Mushrooms are like sponges. This will add a lot of flavor. I'm also making a big batch of mushrooms because I like to eat them in a lot of different ways. In omelets, I like to stuff ravioli. I like to make this base into a delicious soup. I'm going to make some little toasties with cheese melted on top, scrambled into eggs. There's infinite things you can do with this. So first we're going to melt this butter, and then the secret to good mushrooms is making what they call in French cuisine a beurre noisette, which is a nut butter. And that is the key to good mushrooms. So I'm going to let this cook, and I'm going to let it brown, and I'll show you different stages of it. I'd say the heat's about medium-high, pretty high, and that's fine. So now you can see the butter's melting, it's starting to get bubbly, and this is where we want to just keep cooking this butter. We want to watch it like a hawk, and we're going to turn it into this beautiful beurre noisette. And one of the really cool things about making nut butter is that you use all of your senses. You use your eyes to see when the color is right, and to see when the bubbles are subsiding, and you use your nose to smell the nuttiness, and you also use your ears. So now you can see it's starting to get a little brown around the edge, still foamy, but now watch what's going to happen. This foam is going to start turning brown, and then it's just going to go down. Now I smell it. Now you get that nutty smell, and see the color, how it changed? And that's it. You're going to stop there and start adding your mushrooms and your shallots. Again, this is a lot of mushrooms, but they'll cook way, way down. Okay, now just stir those around. Keep the heat on medium-high, and we're just going to start letting these cook. And this has been about 5 minutes of cooking. You can see they're starting to soften, but they've got quite a ways to go. I want these to have a good solid cook. And I stir them from time to time, and then just let them do their thing. So now you can see these are exuding a lot of their moisture. I'm going to turn the heat down just a hair because I really want these to cook a while, and I want them to I want all of the liquid to evaporate out of them, and I want them to start browning a little bit. So this has been about 10 minutes. I'm going to turn my heat down to, I would say, kind of a medium-low. I'm going to sprinkle these with a little bit of salt, and I'm going to hit it with a little bit of pepper. Give it another stir, and then let it do its thing for a little bit longer. Chopping a little fresh thyme. You could add any herb that you wish. And you might want to even think about how you're going to use these mushrooms. I like thyme because I think it marries really beautifully with almost any kind of mushroom. But, you know, in the summer you could use fresh basil, you could use rosemary, you could use whatever you want. Think about what you're making and how you want it to work. So now these are getting nice and brown and dried out, and I am going to, and at this point it's better to keep cooking them than to say, oh, they're done, or to rush them, because you really want to develop that browning flavor. That's where the good flavor is, from the brown butter and the brown mushrooms. But I'd say I'm pretty happy with these. So I'm going to add my chopped thyme now. I'm going to stir that in and let it cook for just a second. And then I'm going to add the other essential ingredients whenever I cook mushrooms, and that is a fine dry sherry. And this is really another secret ingredient that just adds to the flavor of mushrooms. I add a nice healthy dash, D-A-S-H. Stir that in and let it cook down. All right, now our sherry is cooked out, our thyme is integrated, and now we have basically the base. This is the base that you can use for anything. You can spoon this over hamburgers, yum, that would be delicious, over a steak. You can use it as, you could put it into your ravioli. You could use it as a base for a soup and add 4 cups of chicken stock to this and a nice couple of fistfuls of barley and have a lovely mushroom barley soup. What I'm going to do with my mushrooms here, I'm going to add a little bit of cream, just enough to wet the mushrooms, not very much. And I'm going to stir that in, like so. And then I'm going to put it on some little pieces of bread, and I'm going to melt some cheese on it. Now, before I do that though, I'm going to do the most important thing we do as cooks, and that is taste it. And the difference between a cook that's pretty good and a cook that's just fantastic is how they taste their food before they serve it. So a really fantastic cook will do what I used to tell my chefs, they'll push the flavor. And mushrooms are a perfect example of where you can really push the flavor. And what does that mean? Well, let's taste these and see. Does it need more sherry? Does it need more salt, more pepper, a little more cream, a little more richness to it? I have a feeling this is pretty good because the mushrooms were gorgeous. A little more salt, and it's good to go. I have my oven on broil. I have my little crostinis ready to go. They're topped with the mushrooms. I'm going to put a little bit of Gruyere cheese on top of each one. Again, this is where your creativity can come into play, you know. What cheese do you like with mushrooms? What kind of mushrooms do you have? What kind of herbs did you put in your mushrooms? All that stuff. Okay, and then we're going to broil these just till they're bubbly. All right, see how these look. Oh, they look good. And they smell fantastic. And then, in the unusual event that you might have some truffle oil in your cupboard, which I happen to, I'm just going to put, this stuff is very strong, and I wouldn't use this if I had morels. But with these mushrooms, I think it's okay, just a drop, literally, on each crouton, just to, oh my goodness, the smell of that is crazy. And then I'm just going to hit it with a little parsley, like that. And there you have it. And that's what we're going to have for dinner tonight with this delicious sweet potato soup that I made that maybe would be for another video. So enjoy your mushrooms, enjoy nature. I hope you can all get outside and find solace in these crazy times. And I hope that you'll support the work that the Nature Conservancy does and be a good conservation ambassador yourself. Have fun cooking, and especially if you can find wild mushrooms.